everyone, welcome to Home Ec. My name's Leigh-Ann and today I want to show you the basics of using your own sewing machine. My machine is called a Singer Advance and every machine is a little different, but to turn this one on, all I do is go to the on-off switch on the side, push it on, and it loads up. It's an automatic computerized machine and it's ready to go. Every machine is a little different though, and if you have a mechanical machine, usually you'll see a switch along the front here and it'll say fast, slow, and then the off is in the center, and the fast and slow just refers to the speed of your stitches. When you're beginning, I'd suggest using the slow speed. Let's get ready to use our machine. You're going to need a bobbin and a spool of thread to match your project. There's two kinds of bobbins, there's metal and plastic. And both work the same, it just depends on your preference. Today I'm going to use a plastic one and I'm going to show you now how to fill your bobbin with thread. Take our spool of thread and load it onto the spool pin. Some machines have a horizontal one, others have a vertical standing up straight kind. On mine it's horizontal and I'm going to slide it on and then use this little stopper that came with my machine just so that it doesn't fly off while I'm sewing. If your machine doesn't have one of those, don't worry, some don't. Now I'm going to take the thread and push it under here, and these are called thread guides, and you just, it kind of slips right under that little circular disc, and my machine even has a diagram that helps. And I'm going to drive it over here, and now this is where the bobbin comes in. Using the tip of your thread, you're going to guide or like feed your thread from the center out, and there's a little hole in every bobbin. So I'm just going to aim it through the hole and up, and then take the bobbin and put it onto the bobbin winder. I just press it down and then push it to the side. Not all of them have it pushed to the side. And I'm going to press the foot pedal on my machine. This is like the gas pedal for your sewing machine. And on some machines that foot pedal is actually built into your sewing table. And it's like you push the side of your knee against the table to make it work. Depends on each machine. So I'm going to hold on to that thread straight up and press the gas, the foot pedal. But once it's got a little bit on it, you can trim that thread so you can let go because it's held in place, and continue pressing the gas, the foot pedal. Okay, my bobbin is pretty full and I won't need it to be completely full, but see, it's loaded, and now I took it off of the bobbin winder and I'm going to trim this thread, and now the bobbin is ready to use. I want to note that some machines are different than mine, where instead of having this switch right here with your bobbin winder, there's actually a button on the knob that you press in, and you might have noticed that while I was filling the bobbin, the needle was not going up and down even though I was pressing the foot pedal, and that's because I had switched this over. On other sewing machines, when you push the button on the knob, it'll do the same thing. So most machines shouldn't have the needle going up and down while you fill your bobbin. It's kind of hard on the motor, so just so you know, check here if you don't have this feature. And that's how you load your bobbin. Put your spool onto the spool pin or post and your stopper if you have, and take the thread and guide it under the two thread guides. Some machines might only have one, and you're going to bypass this. This is just for winding your bobbin, and go straight down, and then you do a U-turn and go straight up. And here you're gonna, there's a thing called a thread take up. See how I'm moving it? I'm using my knob to move it. And in this, it's almost like a paper clip. You're gonna hook it around because it's gonna go in between. So go up and then just go beside it and it'll be caught on there and it catches it. And now I'm gonna go back down that slot right down there. And now this is a little guide for your thread. You hook it under there. I always go like this, like a L shape, and I aim it in behind there and it'll catch. See, it's caught on through there, and now I'm ready to thread my needle. So what I do always is just trim the thread so you have a sharp end. Give it a lick so it's pointy, and then you just aim it through your needle hole. You'll get better and better at that. It takes some practice. And once you have aimed it through, this is your presser foot, and there's a little crack or a slot where you can aim your thread through there so that it's underneath the presser foot. And you've just loaded your machine. Now I just showed you how to thread an automatic or an electronic machine, the newer style, but when you have an older or a mechanical sewing machine, there's a slight variation. When you get to the point where you're threading aiming your thread downward, there's a knob right here, and that's your tension knob. I'll show you a diagram. But you're going to take your thread and go around that knob like this, and then there's a little wiry type hook that guides your thread. After you take it through the tension, you would continue on with your U-turn up and so forth. Now we're ready to load our bobbin into the machine. This is your bobbin housing. On mine it's located right at the front, in front of the presser foot, but on some machines it's right along the front or the side. You drop your bobbin into the bobbin housing and see that my thread is on the left side of the bobbin, like a letter P. I drop it in, and then I guide it into that little slot or crack right there. See my threads fit in, and then I pull it upwards, and you'll feel that it fits, it stops pulling. Now you can see a little diagram right there actually. Now that that is in, we're going to press the foot pedal just for one slight second, and this thread is going to go down through the little hole, grab this thread, and pull it back up. Sometimes I actually hold this thread just a little bit so that it kind of grabs better. So I'm going to press it. Good. And now I use a stitch ripper just so I don't have to put my hand near the needle, and slide it through, and you're going to pull it all the way up and slide it to the side. Put your lid or your little window back on top, and you're ready to sew. Now I want to introduce you to what I call Command Central, where you'll find all your stitches, your stitch widths or spacing on your stitches, and your needle alignment, along with the knob on your sewing machine, which when you turn it will manually make your needle go up and down. To do your stitches, on my machine, because it's electronic, it's just buttons, so I would push them side to side to select which stitch I want. But on some machines, an older machine or a mechanical machine, you could have knobs or little rotating discs that allow you to select the stitch and all of the different features that Command Central has. So it's different on each machine, but you'll be able to tell because of the diagrams. So this is the stitch I use the most often, which is just a straight dotted stitch. And I also sometimes use the zigzag stitch. On my machine there's a lot of fancy ones that I don't typically need or use, but there's also the buttonholer, and those are these features. And we'll get to that in a future project. Now on here, this is the stitch width. When I start at 1, that's the smallest stitch, and it's actually just like almost a dot. And as I get further up in the numbers, it's going to get wider and wider, the stitches. So 7 would be the widest stitch my machine can do, and by widest I mean the longest before it skips to make the next stitch and the next stitch. And then this is the needle adjuster. When I move this to the left, my needle goes to the left, and as I go to the middle it adjusts. So I'm just using the switch to do that. I usually stick to the middle, but the nice thing about being able to move your needle is that if you like to use the edge of your presser foot as a guide, by moving the needle you can adjust the width of the gap between your stitch and the edge of your project, which is called seam allowance. Now we're ready to begin sewing. I'm going to guide my fabric underneath the presser foot, that's this little pedal right there, and lower the handle. That raises and lowers the presser foot. You always need the presser foot down when you're sewing, or else your fabric will go all over the place. So up, down, and some presser foot handles are found on the left side of your machine around there. By having the edge of your presser foot in line with the edge of your fabric on your project, you'll be able to create a really straight line as you sew. Now you press the foot pedal of your machine and it's going to sew down. See? Which means when you begin stitching your line, you secure it, and so I'll show you. I'm going to press my stitch, my pedal, make a few stitches, and then I'm going to press my back stitch button. Some of you will have like a little lever right here or sometimes over here. So I'm going to press it and it's going to make my stitches go backwards and then forwards one time so that my stitches are really secure and they won't undo. Back. I did it a little long, but you don't have to do that much. And then you just continue sewing until you get to the end of the line. Take out that needle. And then I'm going to back stitch again so that the beginning and the end are very strong. And to take your fabric out, you lift your presser foot, slide it out a little bit so you have a bit of extra thread, and trim your thread really close to the project. So that you don't have to have the little tails. Take your pins out and trim, both ends of your thread. And you've sewed a straight line. And see, the back stitching makes it a little stronger at the beginning so that if you can't pull it apart. Now I want to show you how to replace your needle in case it ever breaks, becomes dull, or you want to replace it with a different type of needle. You loosen the screw, lower the needle, and select your new one. They come in packages like this or sometimes in hard plastic cases. Then you choose your new needle, and there's a flat side and a round side. On my machine, the flat side goes to the back. Push it up. Tighten the screw and rethread your needle, and you're ready to continue sewing. Here's a few tips to help you enjoy sewing and the process even more. Keep a pair of small scissors by your machine so that you can easily snip threads and never be searching for your main pair. Wear a tape measure around your neck so that you can find it all the time and be ready to measure whenever you need. I like to use a magnetic pin cushion so that I can quickly take the needles from my project and drop them on and they'll never fall off or roll away. I use the stitch ripper to get the thread underneath my presser foot without never risking my fingers hitting the needle. And I like to keep a little bucket behind my machine so that as I snip threads I can put them directly in there and keep my station organized. These are my sewing scissors and I never cut anything but fabric with them, and they always are sharp. I love this pair.